Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video we're talking about Retroarch, PlayStation 4, ASUS, and more. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about Retroarch and the Facebook portal, and yes, Retroarch works on this device. So just the other day, Libretro posted a tutorial over on YouTube on how to get Retroarch up and running on the Facebook portal. I don't know anyone who actually owns a Facebook portal. If you do, let me know in the comments below. And if you wanted to check out the video, it is entertaining. I'll drop a link to it in the description below as well. Unsurprisingly, the Facebook portal is not the most powerful device out there, so don't expect PS1 games or greater to run on the device. And unsurprisingly as well, they say Retroarch is not endorsed by Facebook or any of their products. And speaking about devices, next up we're talking about the ASUS ROG Ally. And more people are getting their hands on this device, and more people are getting frustrated with some of the nuances of a Windows handheld and the ASUS ROG Ally. This person here says, I've had the ASUS ROG Ally for 24 hours. This picture sums up my experience so far. This is not a game console, it's a Windows PC with a controller attached. Not a great experience. The UI is so clunky and using Windows on a handheld is awful. On top of that, a number of people have reported joystick issues and have had to resort to things like Joystick Gremlin to fix them. Additionally, fellow YouTuber The Fox pointed out an issue with BIOS Update 3.19 for the ROG Ally, and it resulted in performance regressions. It seems like software is not necessarily ASUS's strong suit, and Spawnwave did a full teardown of the ROG Ally and pointed out some hardware issues, including one with the D-pad. It doesn't necessarily pivot the best, and you can get some wrong inputs, considering you can press it right down and hit multiple inputs at once. Fortunately for the ROG Ally, there is a brand new hotfix out that may improve performance in a whole bunch of games by a significant margin. Now, for those of you who like the ROG Ally or own a ROG Ally or both, don't get your pitchforks out just yet. I'm trying to present the news in an unbiased format. There are a lot of people who are really enjoying this device. For those of you saying the ROG Ally is a Steam Deck killer, I would not agree with you. For people saying the Steam Deck is a ROG Ally killer, I would not agree with you either. The ROG Ally has its own strengths. I mean, it's got a great screen, it does run Windows, which is a huge benefit for some games. And it's also got a fairly decent CPU. So as for which one's better, I'll leave that one up to you. There's a ton of reviews out there and a ton of comparisons. In my opinion, they're two sides of the same coin. They're trying to accomplish the same thing, but go about it a little bit differently. If you like Linux, you might like the Steam Deck. If you like Windows, you might like the ROG Ally. Both have their drawbacks, both have their positives, so it's entirely up to you and what experience you want. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious as to your opinion. Do you like the Steam Deck? Do you like the ROG Ally? Let me know and why in the comments below. And if you head on over to the community tab, I do have a poll up and running, at least I think it's still up and running, as to whether or not you think the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally is a better buy. Go on ahead and check that out. And speaking about checking stuff out, check this out. Anbernic appears to be getting ready to release a brand new premium gaming handheld. This one is going to be called the Anbernic WIN701, and it's rumored to be powered by an AMD Ryzen 7 7840U. That is a fairly powerful CPU and may rival the ROG Ally, and may beat the Steam Deck. This won't be Anbernic's first Windows handheld though. I do have the Anbernic WIN600, and I was disappointed with this device overall. Unfortunately, we don't know a whole lot about this device just yet. We don't know the price, the release date, or the tech specs. I'm hoping for the best here. I'm hoping they've learned from previous mistakes. I'm hoping they're going with dual channel RAM as opposed to single channel RAM, which was one of the major drawbacks of the WIN600. And speaking about Windows, next up we're talking about a brand new PlayStation 4 emulator for Windows called Shad PS4. This one is in very early stages of development. It's not necessarily ready to be used just yet. Now the developer does state they're doing this as a fun project and they don't have a lot of time, so it may take a while before it's actually able to run something decent. But as for the developer here, they say, old emulator fans and devs can recognize me as Shadow. I was the founder and coder for a lot of emulation projects. PCSX, PCSX2, PCSP, JPCSP, and Arcade Flex. So I'll leave you with that. Do you think this is going to be successful? How do you think it's going to compare to other PS4 emulators like Obliteration and FPPS4? Next up, we're talking about the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis, and someone is in the process of porting Street Fighter Alpha or Street Fighter Zero to the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis. And here's a YouTube video of the actual port up in action, and in my opinion, this thing looks great so far. If you wanted to follow along with this project, I'll drop a link to this YouTube video in the description below and feel free to check it out. Next up, we're talking about Linux Mint, and currently the latest version of Linux Mint is version 21.1 Vera. And Linux Mint 21.2 Victoria is just around the corner. In fact, beta testing ISOs are already up. So Mint 21.2 is based on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. The Cinnamon version is 5.8. The XFCE version is 4.18 and the Mate version is 1.26. As you probably already know, I'm a big fan of Linux Mint, and Linux Mint 21.2 is expected to officially release at some point this month or some point early next month. And speaking about releases, next up we're talking about Sparky Linux, and Sparky 7.0 Orion Belt just released. This one is built on Debian 12 Bookworm, which also just released. Sparky Linux is lightweight, it's meant to be very minimalistic and snappy, but it might not be for the novice user. I'll drop a link to it in the description below in the event that you wanted to check it out. And continuing to speak about releases, next up we're talking about OBS. OBS stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Open Broadcaster Software, depending on how you want to interpret that. Anyways, here if you use this program, version 29.1.3 just released, and it's got a whole bunch of bug fixes. And last up here, we're talking about Steam, and Next Fest has just started. It's from June 19th to June 26th and features a whole bunch of demos. So if you are looking for some time to kill or a reason to grow your backlog even more, I'll drop a link to this in the description below and feel free to check it out. There's a lot of demos here and you might have some fun. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.